In our previous lecture, we learned about nomenclature, which is the process of assigning a scientific name to an organism. But before giving a scientific name, let me ask you one important question. How do scientists know which organism they are studying? Can they assign a scientific name just by looking at it once? No. First, they must identify the organism correctly. This process is called identification. Today, we will understand what identification is and why it is essential step in a taxonomy. Definition: identification is the process of recognizing an organism and assigning it to the correct taxon by comparing its characters with known organism. Identification means recognizing an organism correctly by carefully observing its characteristics and comparing them with organisms that have already been described by scientists. The word recognizing means finding out the true identity of an organism. Scientists study characters such as shape, size, color, leaves, flowers, fruits, stems, roots, or body structure depending on the organism. These characters are then compared with standard descriptions, identification keys, herbarium specimens, or reference books. If all the characters match, the organism is assigned to the correct taxon, such as species, genus, or family. In simple words, identification answers the question, who is the organism? For example, suppose you find an unknown flowering plant in a garden. You cannot immediately say that it is Hibiscus rosa sinensis. First, you observe its flower color, number of petals, leaf arrangement, stem, and fruit. Then you compare these characters with the botanical descriptions. If all the features match, you identify it is Hibiscus rosa sinensis. Only after correct identification can the plant receive its scientific name. Importance of identification. Correct identification is necessary before naming an organism. Now, let me ask you a question. Can we give a scientific name to an organism without knowing what it is actually is? The answer is no. Identification always comes before nomenclature. If an organism is identified correctly, it will receive the wrong scientific name. This can create confusion in research, classification, and scientific communication. Therefore, correct identification is the first and most important step before naming any organism. It helps determine that exact organism being studied. The main purpose of identification is determine the exact identity of an organism. Once the organism is identified correctly, scientists can study its classification, ecology, distribution, economic importance, and evolutionary relationships. Without proper identification, it is impossible to carry out accurate biological research. Therefore, identification forms the foundation of a taxonomy and systematics. To conclude, identification is the process of recognizing an organism by comparing its characters with already known organism and placing it in the correct taxon. It is an essential step before nomenclature because only a correctly identified organism can be given a valid scientific name. Therefore, identification plays a crucial role in taxonomy and biological research. Thank you.